The Avs trade deadline was supposed to be about adding goal scoring to their lineup, and while it has done that over the last 4 games, maybe the biggest part of this addition has actually been elite team defense. And you know what they say about defense. It wins championships. Avs win over the Calgary Flames 4-2. Look, I'm not here to tell you that Calgary is the best offense in the league. Far from it. They have one of the lowest goals per game average in the league, but they do rank in top 10 in shots per game, and the Avs held them to just 10 shots through the first 2 periods of this game. Even with the barrage in the third period with score effects and things like that affecting Calgary's play, the Avs still held them to 24. For the record, 24 shots per game would be the lowest in the NHL. So regardless of what you feel about Calgary's offense, the Avs defensively played elite in this game and ridiculously good in the first half and first 2 periods of it. There are 2 parts to that conversation. One, yes, the Avs team defense was really, really good. You can't really deny that outside of maybe the first 5 minutes of the third period. They really put it together well in this game. 2, they got a little bit of puck luck at times. A lot of this season, it felt like the bounces have not gone the Avs' way. Over these last couple of games, maybe they're starting to. Whether that be bad posts against for the other team or pucks finding their way into the net for Colorado. I say that, but wait until you see Calgary's second goal here. And I guess really there's a third thing too, and that's goaltending. While Colorado did play great defense for the majority of this game, they still gave up high danger chances across the course of it because it's an NHL hockey game. That happens. And whether it's Wedgwood or Blackwood in net, in the tonight's game it was Wedgwood, they have a guy they can trust back there. When mistakes do get made, they're able to expect their goalie to make a save. And while obviously that directly keeps goals off of the board, it also allows the skaters to play more comfortably, play the way they're supposed to, and play to the systems that they have installed because they know that guy back there has their backs. While it's not perfect, this team is coalescing into a lot more of what you hoped they would be post-trade deadline. So when you play elite defense for 2 periods, all you need is a little bit of goal scoring to take command of the game, and they get it first from their defense. Third line action for the Avs, and you're going to see all forwards get involved. Coyle's going to simply dump this puck in, and this is what doing the little things right looks like. The dump is hard and firm, so it gets past the goalie, along to the far boards, where Kiviranta is the first man in, and he doesn't win the battle, but he's able to get a stick in and create an opportunity. That's all that it takes. Colton trailing in as well. He's jumped in, and now all 3 forwards have touched the puck and given you an offensive zone possession successfully. From there, Colton is able to flash just enough skill, protect the puck, find a little bit of space, and create an opportunity for the Avs as a Flame gets caught, just loses an edge and falls over in the corner. And now you're cooking something a little bit. Lindgren's going to come off the boards. Because of the lost coverage, Colton's able to drag a man and create some space up high. This is not fancy. This is not a particularly high danger play, but you've created enough to create something. Lindgren's going to throw a puck towards the net. Admittedly, this is not a great shot. Admittedly, it's pretty lucky. You're going to see it skip off of the front-facing forward. I've lost my mouse. There we go. We found it right off the skate. It's a perfect bounce and everything goes well, but the Avs deserve a little bit of credit here. They've got bodies in front. Again, doing the little things right is what leads to good bounces and ultimately goals. Now, obviously, Lindgren's impact on the Avs is focused far more on that defensive side that we talked about before I showed you that goal, but that's his second point in 6 games, which isn't some crazy number, but if a production rate of that level can sustain from a guy that you bought to be a defensive D, yeah, that's really, really good. Pucks like that aren't going to go in all that often, but just being able to contribute consistently in the offensive zone is huge for him. So it's 1-0 after the first, a relatively low event period. Obviously, extremely low event for Calgary, but also low event for the Avs, which in a perfect world, they dominate and blow them out every period, but that's not the reality. I think it's interesting to see how low event some of these recent games have been with Colorado, and I actually think it's a good thing. Obviously, you want the Avs to drive more play and produce more offense, but we're talking about a closer to playoff feel style of hockey where it's very tight out there, there's not a lot of space, and it's hard to generate. Colorado is showing they can play that style and be just fine. While the Avs would go on to give up more shots on goal in the second period, the underlyings were actually much more dominant. This is where it really felt like the Avs started to take over the game. And they did so with their certainly top line and most of their top 6 really not playing very well. I've talked about this before, but I'm just never worried about your top guys not playing all that well for a game or two. They're your top guys for a reason, and that reason is because they don't play poorly for very long. So them having a bad night is a wash. When you go on to win games when your top guys aren't playing very well, you can kind of laugh it off and make it look easy. They, of course, will have to show up, but this next game is massive, and you'll need your stars against the stars, so you need that, but for this one, just not sweating it. Perhaps the not-so-secret bonus of the Avs forward deadline additions is, yes, you added more firepower directly, but you also added guys that helped move everyone back into the spots they're supposed to be. And with people slotted correctly, your depth looks a lot more dangerous. The recipe really is simple here. Step 1, win a battle in your own zone to get possession of the puck. Step 2, get that puck out cleanly. LOC, feeling a bit of pressure, decides to flip this puck out safely. Step 3, do the hard work to be ready in case something happens. Something does happen on this play. Huberdeau goes to play the puck with his hand and just whiffs. Looks like a shortstop, a big E6 right there. Kelly in position with speed is able to make the play, kick that puck loose, find it, get himself a breakaway, and he's got just enough to finish. The key here is capitalizing on your opportunities. And if I'm honest, the Avs top 6 didn't do that. They failed to score on a power play opportunity. Cale Makar failed to score or even really get a shot on net on a penalty shot attempt, which, by the way, why are the Avs the worst team in the league in penalty shots and shootout attempts? I don't understand it, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the Avs' depth capitalizing on opportunities. Parker Kelly putting in the hard work, chasing down a puck. When Calgary makes a mistake, he's there to capitalize on it. That's depth hockey. It's being there every single time, so when something weird does happen, you're ready to make the right play. A lot of the times, you're not going to quite have the skill to convert on a play. A lot of the times, you're not going to have the ability to beat your opponents. But when your opponents beat themselves, that's when you have to be there and you have to beat them. Honestly, after those 2 periods, you're flying high. Your top 6 could play a lot better and you're up by multiple goals and cruising through this game. Calgary is a team on the playoff bubble though, so they come out in the third and they really do leave it all out there. I think that third period is about as good as the Calgary Flames can play. They push the Avs hard, and to be honest, for the first 5 minutes, the Avs are chasing pretty badly. Ultimately, some sloppy play at the blue line leads to the Avs losing the shutout. This play starts out as good defense, but gets messy quickly. As Calgary tries to gain the blue line, the Avs intercept the puck and look to be clean. A little bit of discombobulation, but Drury gets clean possession and flips this puck out. The problem is it's not a great flip. It's not deep enough and it's not high enough, so Calgary's able to cut it down at the red line and not only reverse the play, but now the Avs are very discombobulated. You have a bunch of their players out of position. You see an initial challenge from 2 forwards putting themselves behind the play in the neutral zone, which only gets worse as you have yet another step up here. All 3 forwards stepping up the blue line and they fail to prevent the puck. Not only that, they end up colliding into each other. So coverage just falls apart in a hurry at the blue line on this second entry for Calgary. And from there, it's a little bit messy. Makar does a fine job. He forces a shot from the outside. This is not dangerous. You'd probably like a bit better rebound control from Wedgwood, but at the same time, Sam Girard just has to do a better job here. This is a rebound that happens in the NHL, and Girard is just not competitive on this rebound. This is not a strength thing. This is just he wasn't ready for it, and it slips right by him, and it's an easy goal. I think it's pretty easy to want just about every part of that to get played better by the Avs, but again, these things happen. Let's not beat around the bush here. Calgary's a decent hockey team. They are in a playoff spot as we speak, even if it is a bubble spot. To think that an entire game against a team like that is going to be a cakewalk is just not reality. And while I did not love the first 5 minutes of the third period, and while Calgary looked extremely dangerous, that's the back and forth of a hockey game you want, right? If you're playing a quality playoff-style hockey game, yeah, from an Avs purely fan-based perspective, you'd love to roll over everyone 7-0 every game and run your way all the way home. But that's not what's going to happen. You're going to get good games, and that's what makes it exciting. Probably a little closer than I would have liked through the first or the third period. It was just dangerous. It could have easily been a tie game in that portion, as Calgary would hit a post a little bit later. But call it puck luck, call it what you want. The Avs hang on. They weather a bit of that storm. They maintain a lead. And when Calgary fails to convert on that second goal, the Avs come down and bury the game. More hashtag just depth things here. Taves on the breakout gets it up to Kelly. Kelly Head check there. He knows what's coming here. With his back turned, he takes a hit to get a puck in deep. That's hard-working depth for you right there. He gets up and gets himself back in this play, too. This puck is dumped in deep, and you're going to see Wolf not handle this very well. The Avs put on double forward pressure here, and Wolf is not able to play it. He kind of gets caught up with his defenseman, is in his way. It's just chaos. So that gives Colton time to come in, intercept this chip up the wall, and just find himself with a puck behind the net. That is clean, good, hard work. From there, Colton, arguably the most talented player on this line, at least offensively, is able to find a little bit of space. Kelly just trying to get to a dangerous area, trusting Colton to be able to find him. That's exactly what happens, and Kelly's able to make it count. Chasing down pucks, finding them, outworking the other team, that is standard operating depth hockey. What the Avs have now in their depth that they maybe lacked earlier in the season is just enough skill to find ways to convert on winning those pucks. It's a huge goal. That's the second of the night for Kelly, which is awesome to see. Him back at wing has obviously worked out perfectly. Maybe this will teach the Avs the lesson of stop trying to make people who aren't centers. Players clearly work better in the role they're supposed to be playing. But the other side of this, Ross Colton has a multi-point night picking up that assist there too, and he now has 9 points in his last 8 games. This is to the extreme end of as good as Ross Colton can produce for you, but this is sort of more what they need out of Ross Colton. Maybe not to that level of production, but the Avs got Ross Colton to be a depth or middle six producer for them, and his long cold streak is finally over. Now, you knew that cold streak wasn't going to last forever. You knew the pendulum was going to swing back the other way, and it has now, and it's great to see. Don't expect him to continue to produce at a point per game, but you need regular production out of that guy for the rest of the season, and he's proving he's fully capable of that. Hopefully this rush has given him a bit of confidence, and it can be consistent for Colorado on that third line going forward. Really, he was out with the fourth line for this goal. The Avs mixed and matched lines a bunch tonight, as they always do. You have flexibility in this lineup now. That would go on to be the game-winning goal, so it was crucial for Colorado. You would see Calgary get multiple power plays in the third period off some pretty weak calls, in my opinion, but that is what it is. The Avs are able to kill one power play, and then the other one ends up with this goal. Calgary on the power play here. This is not a particularly special play. They're going to end up taking a point shot from out high in a second here. Huberdeau does do a good job of getting good position. I'll give him credit there. He's in the right spot. But this shot's going to sail high, find Huberdeau's noggin, bounce directly up into the air off of his head, and then fall into the net on the backside of Wedgwood. I mean, what? Look, earlier in the year, that feels like a goal that goes in on Colorado when it's tied or when they're even trailing by 1, and it puts the game out of reach off of some stupid, fluky stuff. Instead, Colorado played a better hockey game in full, so they're leading when that goal goes in, and they're still leading after that goal goes in because they gave themselves the cushion. And when you're leading when those things happen and you go on to win the game, you can sit here and laugh about a stupid bounce instead of being super frustrated that things just aren't going the Avs' way. I think this is maybe a more accurate portrayal of what making your own luck means. Luck is luck. You can't really control it. But when bad bounces go your way, but you've played well enough to win anyway, you don't feel the impact of those bad bounces nearly as much. Nichushkin would put the empty netter in, which is hilarious. Arguably, the Avs' worst forward in this game, and he still gets that empty net point. That's just the way it seems to happen. And the Avs win. They continue their point streak. They're now 7-0-1 in their last 8. And more importantly, they bounce back from a loss. They don't let things skid. I really think it feels like the Avs are building to something in a way that it hasn't felt this way all season. I know we've talked about the Avs potentially turning the corner a bunch of times this season. We've talked about good stretches of hockey, but there's some underlying quality play here that I think has been missing from the recipe for most, if not all, of the season. They're not going to win every game down the stretch. They're not going to be perfect, but this is starting to feel like a contender again. That is the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching. I am Rudo, and I would like more goals from your top 6.